Okay, so let's get started. So welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. My name is Rafi Shulman and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. Joining me tonight is my partner and sister, Laura Itzhaki. So thank you, Laura, for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. I know everybody that's joining us tonight appreciates your time, and really we're looking forward to listening and to learning from what you do and the amazing support that you give to all of the Olim. Whenever we do this, I'm always inspired by all the people that join us, whether you're in Israel or around the world, people that want to make Aliyah, people that need a little bit of help, people who are here and say, you know what, I can take care of a lot of this myself, but maybe I just need a couple of pointers here and there. And so really, kol hakavod to all of you who are thinking about making Aliyah, or you made Aliyah already. It's it's amazing. More power to you. And B'ezrat Hashem, things if you're getting here, things will run smoothly, and you will be able to enjoy life in Israel. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk about just a couple of things pretty quickly. The first thing is that we can't go into specific situations. So when we do the Q&A session at the end, we know that everyone has, your own situation, and there's a lot of details that go into each one's situation. And so unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get into all the personal scenarios in this webinar. So we'll have our contact information at the end, and we invite you and we welcome you to reach out to us, and we can have one-on-one conversations with each one of you to talk about your situation and figure out how we can help you. Another thing is we do have, you can put your questions in either the Q&A or the chat window. So when we get to the Q&A session at the end, we'll go through the questions and answer as many of them as we can. And we are recording this, and we will send out a recording hopefully tomorrow before the Chag, before Rosh Hashanah. We will send out an email with the recording. So if you have to leave early, if you've come late, don't worry about it. If you just want to watch it again to get more information, you'll have a link to the recording, and you'll be all taken care of. In terms of the agenda, I just wanted to let you know we're going to keep it really casual. There's just a few things we wanted to go over. The first one is just the overview of Olim Advisors. Why are we doing these webinars? What's, how are we helping people? Then we want to focus specifically on the bureaucracy package and on the bureaucracy needs that people have when they get to Israel. Then we'll go over a few tips just for you to keep in mind, things that will make it a little easier for you to deal with the bureaucracy and save some time and some money. And then at the end, as I mentioned, we'll have the Q&A session. So just as an overview of Olim Advisors, going back to 2016, so over 5 years ago, Laura and I got together and we said that we want to help people make Aliyah. It's a challenging process, it's an overwhelming process, it's a stressful process for many people, and we wanted to help. And so we started Olim Advisors with two goals in mind. The first goal was to encourage people to make Aliyah. So a lot of the people that we talked to have been dreaming about making Aliyah, thinking about making Aliyah, for many years, and they don't know where to begin. They don't know who to turn to for guidance. And so we want to kind of support them and guide them through the process. And by doing that, help them make some of the big decisions, like finding a community, finding homes, finding schools. A lot of these decisions are hard to make when you're living elsewhere, whether it's in the States, UK, South Africa, Australia, or anywhere in the world. And we, in essence, are the people on the ground that can help you before you make Aliyah. And then the second part is once you get here, there's a number of things that you have to do, and it's challenging. It's challenging when you move to any country, and specifically if you move into a country with a different language and a different culture. And so we didn't want to just help you get here. We wanted to help you acclimate and adjust as quickly as possible. And so we kind of roll up our sleeves, and we go with you to the government appointments. We go with you to the bank. We set up your utilities. We help you register your kids for school. And really, anything that comes up over the first few months in Israel, we're here to support you. And it's something that I think for a lot of people, it just gives them the peace of mind that if something pops up, and inevitably it does, there's somebody that they can turn to for help. So that was the initial goal. And about a year ago, we decided to expand our services to help people who want to find a home in Israel. So for a lot of people who are making Aliyah, they either are renting a home or buying a home. And so we help them with that process. But we also realized that a lot of people were coming to us who were living in Israel already. So people maybe who made Aliyah 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road, but they didn't buy a home. And now they wanted to buy their first home in Israel. And so they were coming to us, asking us really two main questions. First of all, what's the process like? And secondly, who do we work with? Who can we trust? And so we put together a service where we can guide them through this process and introduce them to our network of contacts. And thank God, we've helped a lot of people find a home in Israel. What we want to focus on in this webinar is talking specifically about the bureaucracy needs, talking specifically about those first couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks when you get here, and how you have to deal with a number of things to get set up. And so let me just forward the slide here one moment, and we'll talk about, in essence, the 4 appointments that you need to take care of. And Laura, with that, I'll hand it over to you to go through the appointments in a little bit more detail and explain to people what they need to do and how we can help them.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Itzhaki, co-founder of Olim Advisors. So bureaucracy in Israel is like this scary concept everyone is terrified of. And now with Corona, and Corona's not ending, it's just become that much more overwhelming. People arriving in Israel and they're in quarantine and they're not getting the Taudat Zehut at the airport, which is what happened before Corona. And so we really, we saw the need to give a specific package that really deals with the scary concept of the bureaucracy of Israel. So I'll go through the 4 main appointments that we go through. I also want to say, Rafi, kol hakavod to everyone who's making Aliyah. It's amazing to me. I watch what you're going through. I hear everything, the stories, the nightmares before arriving here, getting the paperwork, the apostilles, everyone's stories. It's just unbelievable. And then you make it here, and then our job is to then guide you through the process to make you feel as safe and that things are going as quickly and smoothly as possible. And I feel like that's really what we do. So we start out, we explain to everyone exactly what the steps are once they get here to Israel. The first step being going to Misrad Apnim, which is the Minister of Interior. We explained that, again, this is something that was done before COVID. This is something that happened at the airport. People landed in Israel and they were processed. They were processed here. They got the temporary Taudat Zehut at the airport. But when COVID hit, Misrad Apnim said, we want everyone out of the airport as quickly as possible. So once people get here, we take them to a Misrad Apnim. An important tip, which we'll go over later again, but you can go to any Misrad Apnim anywhere in the country. That's very important to know because it's very difficult to make appointments now. There could be a month ahead from now. And also some offices are just smaller, newer, more efficient. So we make sure to take people to those offices and get things done as quickly and as smoothly as possible. We explain to people exactly what to bring with them, how to make the appointment as quick as possible. So if that means that you're bringing all your documentation, but then also making a set of copies for everything, that can literally cut your appointment in half. When we're there, we're literally next to them, just explaining what's going on, because they're signing away. They always ask me, am I signing away my kids, my life, my house, my car? What's going on here? And so we explain every single document to them. And literally one person after the other says, oh my gosh, this is like the best experience I've ever had. I can't believe how good this is, how smooth, how quick, how easy. Today I was the family with one person in Misrad Apnim. Was also a complicated case, but 20 minutes in and out. We had an appointment. They were waiting for us. We got there. You knew exactly what to bring. So that's the Minister of Interior. What Laura, you do with this appointment are,
I'm sorry, just to jump in. I think one of the important things for people to realize is that, and you alluded to it, is that it's hard to make appointments in the near future. So a lot of the offices, you have to wait literally for a few weeks before the next available appointment. And because we've been doing this and because of our connections, we've been able to find appointments that are much sooner than people are able to find. And in fact, on a couple of occasions over the past couple of weeks, we've actually taken a group of people into an office and they've been processed together. And so as you're planning your Aliyah, or if you're here already and you're scrambling to get an appointment, this is kind of the first step. And before in order to get everything else, you have to meet with Misad Apnim. So one of the things that we can help you with is scheduling that appointment sooner than probably you will be able to. And it just helps you kind of shorten this whole process, expedite the process, and then everything else, it's kind of like a domino effect. Everything else falls in place.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the big Aliyah hubs is Bet Shemesh, Ramat Bet Shemesh, and the office there is tiny with very small staff, and the person who runs it is a lovely woman, but you can't manage. So we make sure that when a few days after people come out of quarantine, wherever they're coming from, we make sure to take them to an appointment. And you're right, many of the offices back in the beginning of August, the first appointment available was in October. And you need this first appointment to start your life here, because you need what's called the Teudat Zehut, which is what you'll be getting in your first appointment. And so, no, absolutely. Thank God, because of the people that we know, we managed to get appointments very, very quickly. And again, as I said, with offices that are small and efficient, and things are not chaotic, and because people know exactly what to expect and what to bring, and because we're there with them, it turns into a very
smooth.
And yeah, a very smooth, but it just, not crazy and overwhelming and scary. It's kind of like one person said to me the other day, "Oh my gosh, could we stay here? I love talking to you." And my background is I'm a social worker. So this is, on top of everything, it's just to make people feel good. So just to quickly go back to Misad Apnim, to the first appointment, what people get done there is several things. You have your temporary Teudat Zehut done then and there. You will get processed for biometric Teudat Zehut. Some people opt to do what's called signing a waiver to get a passport before the 90 days, and that's a whole nother legal thing that goes on. And we also make sure that all the family members are all processed and everything's in the computer system. And that's Misad Apnim. The next appointment, once we do that, is to go and open up an Israeli bank account. If it's a husband and wife, then it's what's called a joint bank account. And again, we make the appointment on people's behalf, on our clients' behalf. We make sure to go to banks where even we have some banks that'll actually open up the bank account before we get there. We send them all the information beforehand of our clients. And we get there, and today I was in with a client from the bank. I think beginning to end was less than 20 minutes. It was like a record. I went to the manager to tell this was unbelievable. So again, the fact that we make the appointment, we explain to our clients exactly what to bring. They know what to expect. We translate. Many of the bankers do not speak English. Many bankers do not speak English. And this is a money thing. You want to understand what's going on. You want to understand, again, what you're signing away. And so we're there, we explain to you about the credit cards, we explain to you about the banking system. It's different than what you're used to. And people really feel like, someone's there with them, someone's explaining, guiding them, making sure that their interests are taken care of. And it's just a huge sense of, I'm not alone. And usually when people make Aliyah and they get here and it's just so overwhelming, this is the whole difference, the difference of having someone with you, holding your hand. And people also understand, many people have friends and family here, but they understand that people are very busy. People are busy. Now is before Rosh Hashanah, people have kids, people have work, their jobs. And also it doesn't mean that if you live here, you know exactly how to go through this process, who to go to, where are the best places to set the appointments. So as I said, that's the bank. After you go to the bank, we
Laura, I'm sorry,
up.
just to jump in again with the bank. A couple of things also to keep in mind. First of all, they're banks that are more kind of user friendly for Anglos, right? The app's more user friendly, the website's more user friendly, and so that's definitely something that we can guide you on. And not all towns have branches of all the banks, so you need to make sure that you're choosing the right bank. And not all branches allow Olim Chadashim to open up an account with them. So we've had situations where people have been bounced from one bank to the next because they just don't know. And so all of this is part of the process. It's not just the filling out of the documents. It's really helping you decide beforehand which bank, because a lot of the stuff goes through the bank. So for example, I took a family today to the bank, and you your credit cards get ordered through the bank, the checkbooks get ordered through the bank, everything gets shipped to the bank. So it's just the bank plays a bigger role in people's lives than it does, very often in the States and UK and other countries as well. So this is all part of the second step. It's not just the physical going to the bank, it's also making the decision beforehand which bank to go with, and trying to find the one that best meets people's needs.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So once we finish with the bank, we go to the third appointment in office, which is Misrad HaKlita, which is the Ministry of Absorption. The Ministry of Absorption is actually where people take their bank information, their bank account information, they give it there at the office, and they get processed to get what's called the Sal Klita. The Sal Klita is the money given by the government to Olim that are making Aliyah, depending on the size of their family, if they're coming alone or however many kids they may have. And again, it's difficult to set up appointments right now. Appointments are a month from now. It's hard to understand what's going on and who to go to. So we know how to cut through all of that. We know how to get things done quickly. We know how to get the information in quickly so people start getting this money. Some people need the Sal Klita right away. And it's also a place where you get explained about your rights, things like ulpan. So you have a right to get a regular ulpan, and there's also something called a private ulpan. So these are all things that are explained there. There's also courses that Misrad HaKlita will offer and subsidize. So these are all things that are explained to you. And again, we make the appointment on behalf of our clients. We meet them there. We tell them exactly what to bring with them. And it becomes a nice experience rather than a stressful, what's going to be, what's going on, where should I be type of thing.
Right. And in some cases, we actually know the process better than the people who are working there. I had a situation last week where I went with a couple and they started the process, and this office happened to have a couple people out because of Corona. They were sick. And so the person said, okay, well, we'll get you set up for the Sal Klita, and then you'll need to come back to talk about the ulpan. And I said, you know what, let's just talk about the ulpan for 5 minutes and be done with it. And she said, okay, no problem. And so in essence, just because I knew the process, I saved this couple from having to schlep out again to the office, wait in line, have this meeting, something that they didn't need to do. So, you'll see in a lot of these offices, there's a lot of turnover, people, and the rules are constantly changing. And so I think, that's one of the things, and Laura especially does it so well, is every now and then we will come across a situation where the person in the office will say, okay, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And Laura will say, no, that's not the case. And we end up getting a manager on the phone or talking to somebody. And more often than not, we're right. And look, it's just the reality, with the way things are going. But I think that's one of the important things for everyone to realize is that, when things do come up, or when you're given wrong information, we're there to just kind of say, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Let's just talk about that for a moment before we do something that might not be necessary.
No, absolutely. I mean, I have a few cases like that. We had a situation where I was with a couple the other day, and one of them was an Oleh Chadash. The husband was an Oleh Chadash, and the wife was what's called a Ezrach Oleh, meaning she was not born in Israel, but one of her parents was. And at first, the person wasn't willing in Misrad HaPnim to give us a temporary Teudat Zehut for her. And I said, but she needs one. And she said, well, it's a problem. I said, okay, but she still needs one. She needs one in order to open a joint bank account. So she ended up calling a manager of a different office, and it got approved. And because of that, she ended up getting a Teudat Zehut. And so then we could go to the bank afterwards. If not, they would not have been able to open a bank account. So it's things like that all the time. Absolutely. We've been dealing with our clients that need to fly back and forth and special permission that they need to get. And so because of our contacts with Misrad HaPnim, that's been something that we've been handling. Also, when Corona first hit and people started signing this waiver to get a passport before the 90 days are up, I literally had to fight for this because people were nervous, and there were professionals that needed to travel back and forth. And it's their right to sign a waiver. But a lot of the offices refused in the beginning. So I would have to call a bigger manager and make sure that they got approved for this. So no, absolutely. It's very important, and it makes a big difference to know how the process works. And as you say, Rafi, things do change on a regular basis. So we do get updates from Misrad HaPnim, which is helpful. But sometimes we're also learning with them, but we do know what's going on. So that does make a big difference. And then number 4 here is going back to Mishlad Apnim after the 90 days, which is when you automatically can actually be processed for what's called a biometric passport, a biometric Israeli passport. And then you come in, you, yourself, your whole family, and we get you processed for that. And we also explain to you there's different times of the year that are cheaper to do that. There's also a way to do it online where you can pay in the winter. It's actually a big difference per passport. It can be almost 100 shekel per adult passport, difference in price if you do it online. So again, we make the appointment for you. We tell you exactly how to pay, where to be, and we meet you there. And again, people walk out smiling and saying, wow, how smooth, how easy, and thank you so much for being with us. So those are the 4 main appointments that we handle for the bureaucracy. One other thing that we do that's not on here is we help people with the process of converting their driver's license. There are rules for doing that. There are specific criteria for being able to do that. You have to have been driving overseas for at least 5 years, right up to your Alyah date. And then when you get here, we explain to you what form to fill out and what to do. And then we set up the appointment for you and also make the process as easy and as smooth as possible. So that in essence is our bureaucracy package. I see some questions here. Rafi, do we want to wait till the end for them? Or do you want to answer some of them now? They just have to do with the...
Yeah, we can go through them now.
So can you make an appointment with Mishlad Apnim before moving to Israel? So it's a funny question. You cannot, a person cannot, but you can do it under someone else's Teudat Zehut. So in other words, I have a client, a family that I know is arriving in 10 days. So I've already made appointments for their whole family under my family's Teudat Zehut. I just, it's the Chagim, and so it's going to be hard to make appointments. So in essence, again, someone that's making Aliyah, or you need to make an appointment with a Teudat Zehut number. So really before you get here, you don't have that number. So what I do is I just use different numbers if need be to do that. And then Shana, you're asking here, biometric. So biometric Teudat Zehut is really what they call a smart Teudat Zehut. It just has more information. It has fingerprint in it. It's a 10-year Teudat Zehut. A Teudat Zehut is an ID card. It's something that by law, if you're 16 and over, you have to walk around with. It's a number that we use for everything. It's not like the Social Security where people are worried about using it. This is something that's used here for everything. So again, it's called like a smart Teudat Zehut. The second part of the Teudat Zehut, the paper part, the sefach still remains the same. It's just the actual card that's a bit different. And the same thing for opening a bank account. So again, if you're opening a bank account and as an Israeli, you need to have a Teudat Zehut. You need to have a Teudat Zehut number, and once you have that, then you're able to open up an Israeli bank account. If you're a foreigner, then you can open up a foreigner bank account. And many of our clients have a foreign account, and then they come here and then they open up an Israeli account with a Teudat Zehut, or they convert their foreign account into an Israeli account. And then Shana, when you're asking about banks and if they have English speakers, so in theory, yes, there are English speakers. I just find that in many banks, in many offices, the English is just not great. But there is a way to send messages via the website, and you send it to your banker, and you can, in most banks, you can write in English. They may respond back in Hebrew, but most banks will have someone that can help with that. Let me see here.
Stephen is asking, can people make an appointment with us before they arrive? So yeah, I mean, that's what we do with a lot of our clients, is that they'll contact us a few weeks before or even a few months beforehand. We'll talk about the services, and that way we can schedule things. So if we know when you're coming, let's say if you're coming October 1st, then we can plan that ahead, and then gives us even a greater chance of scheduling appointments for you soon after you arrive. So if you are interested in our services, it's always better to do it sooner than later. So it just gives us more time to schedule these appointments and do things in a more organized and orderly fashion.
Right, and I see somebody's asking, so Misad Apnim, you can make an appointment on any Teudat Zehut, they don't check. In other words, you make an appointment on a 9-digit Teudat Zehut, you get a number, and then you go to the clerk, the person, and they just see your number. They don't ask for the Teudat Zehut number. But it's different in Misad Klita. Misad Klita, you're actually making an appointment for a specific person with their Teudat Zehut number. And you're giving a phone number that needs to be a legit phone number that if they need to make any changes, they will call them. So it is different. If someone's making an appointment for you in Misad Apnim, they do not have to come with you. Misad Klita, again, it does need to be an illegitimate Ole that's coming. The difference also between Misad Apnim and Misad Klita is Misad Apnim, by law, you're allowed to go to any office in the country. Misad Klita, you have a designated office. So in other words, if you're in Jerusalem, you need to go to Misad Klita in Jerusalem. If you're in Modi'in, then you need to go, well, actually Modi'in is in Ramle, but Bet Shemesh, you know, different Ra'anana's in Kfar Saba. So you do have to go to your designated office for Misad Klita.
Right, and just keep in mind with the Teudat Zehut idea that Laura mentioned, we primarily do it in offices where we know the people, and so they understand that we're helping people, and so it's not as much of an issue. You just have to be aware that if you do that in another office, it might be problematic because they'll see somebody show up and then you're not that person, and so it's not something necessarily that we encourage everyone to do. It's just a kind of an arrangement that we have with some of the offices that we go to that helps us schedule these appointments earlier. And really, it helps the office and it helps us, and that's why this works out so well, because everyone that we bring to these offices has the information, everything's prepared, and so that it allows the offices to function much more efficiently. And so we're in essence working as a team. We want to try and get people processed as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. And so this is just kind of an informal arrangement that we have with a couple of offices. So just just a clarification on what Laura had mentioned before.
Right. Right.
And then somebody was asked here if they can contact us to help us schedule appointments. And yeah, absolutely. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We, from the big problems to the little problems and everything in between, we'll get to a slide in a moment with our contact information. And then you'll definitely be able to reach out to us as well. Let's see here.
And we don't actually physically come and pick up our clients. We meet them at the appointments. So wherever it may be, whatever office it is, we meet them there. Someone was just asking about that.
Then there's a question about the SIM, and I think the SIM, what most people do is it's a temporary number just for the first week or so, and then people very quickly will sign up for for the cell phone plan. And just as an aside, we do offer another package that is much more comprehensive, service that really is more than just the bureaucracy. And part of that is the utilities, helping you pick the phone company and set up internet and set up utilities. And there's a lot more involved to making Alyah than just the bureaucracy. So the phone number is one of the things that we do help with as part of the VIP package. So if anyone if you feel like you need more help, then definitely reach out to us. And I think towards the end of the month we're going to do another webinar just on the VIP service, so just be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, if you have any other questions, then definitely feel free to reach out to us.
Right, and I just want to explain a difference. So the bureaucracy package is just it's specific things that it's not help before Alyah or after Alyah, in a sense of we go to these appointments with our clients. That's where it begins and it ends. And the VIP is so very different. We are there for our clients for 6 months after Alyah, for whatever they need, schools, housing, cars, any questions that come up, utilities, like you mentioned, Lafi, internet, life in a different country, in a different culture, a different language. And so it's a very big difference between the two packages. It just depends on the person or the family's needs.
Right. There's a question about the Klita office, the Salak Klita, and it's just a one-time appointment, So in some cases, we have a family from Jerusalem, for example, and we're going to take that. We're going to meet them at a different office just because we can get an appointment much sooner. And so it's usually within half an hour drive. It's not as if you have to drive far to go to these appointments. But we meet our clients at the offices. We don't pick them up from their home, but we meet them at the offices, and then we go in with them.
And again, Mishlad Klita is where they live. Mishlad Klita will be in that zone, whether it's the town where they live or right next door to it. So it shouldn't be a far drive for them. Correct.
Right. And then Laura, there's a question here about getting the list of visits. Is it Mishlad Klita that will give you a list of every time you've come and left?
No. That's Mishlad Pnim. That's your Knisot and Yetziot. I actually think it may be something that's offered online now. Your entrances and exits. If you go onto the Ministry of Interior and check, you might be able to find it there. I think they added on to something that you can get online.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. There are a few tips that we wanted to share with you. So let's just move forward to that. And these are, there's so many little things. And one thing that actually is not on here that I was just thinking when Laura was talking about the bank is that when you get a debit or credit card from the bank, there's a monthly fee, and there's also the banks charge you a monthly fee as well. The first thing is, like the couple I took today to the bank, we got the bank's monthly fee waived for Olim Chadashim. So just make sure that you ask for that. And in some cases, the credit card companies will also waive the monthly fee as well. So just make sure when you go to the bank that you just ask for that. Worst comes to worst, they'll say no, but if you don't ask, you definitely won't get.
Yeah, all the banks that I've gone to and taken our clients, they've waived that fee, the credit card fee, the monthly fee for the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing we talked about, Mishlad Pnim doesn't have to be in your town, so just something to keep in mind. If you're looking for an earlier appointment, then you can look at some of the other towns. You might find something earlier. Laura had mentioned paying passports. To renew your passports, one thing you need to keep in mind is you do need an Israeli credit card. And we were in an office last week, and there was somebody there that didn't have an Israeli credit card, and they were trying to scramble to figure out how to pay for it. So, that's something that a lot of Olim Chadashim don't realize yet, and it can be problematic. So you just need to make sure you can't pay with cash. It has to be with a credit card. So you need to make sure you have a credit card for that.
Every once in a blue moon, a U.S. foreign credit card is accepted. I had a client that had an American Express that was actually accepted. But yeah, it is a challenge to be able to pay and to pay with an Israeli credit card. So it is something to definitely keep in mind when coming to that appointment.
Right. And then the next one, as Laura mentioned, when you renew your passports, you can save, I think it's like 40% almost if you do it online during the off seasons. It's kind of funny that you think the government has an off season, you think usually off season as the tourist, the hospitality industry. But yeah, I mean, they're also, they want to try and balance out the flow of customers. And so it's definitely something that you need to plan ahead for. And you can take advantage of that by renewing your passports online and during the winter season. One thing to keep in mind is the passport pictures. You'll need to bring them with you, and it's for adults, and kids 16 years and over, right? So you just want to make sure that you have them. And I tell people to bring an extra picture or two. You just never know if you lose it or whatever. It's just good to have, a couple of extra passport pictures lying around.
So this is the 2 passport pictures that actually it's for the first appointment at Mishlad Pnim, and this is to get your Teudat Zehut, the temporary one, done and there. So if you don't bring your pictures, you're not going to walk out of there with that Teudat Zehut. So and that's the main reason why we're going there, is to get you that Teudat Zehut, and then with that you go to the next step of the bank. So it's very, very important to have that 2 passport pictures per adult. And again, it's for 16 years old and older. That applies to as well, to be able to get the Teudat Zehut done then and there.
Right. Another thing that we didn't mention here, just for the renewing of the driver's license, you need to have proof that you have a consecutive 5-year history of driving. So if your driver's license is 5 years old and you're coming now, then that's fine. That'll be sufficient. But if it's not, then either you need to bring the previous driver's license with you, even though it's expired, or you have to get an official letter from the DMV. And so that's something, every state is different. So you need to find out. In some states, you can just get it from the website. Other states, you actually have to go in. And so that's something that comes up a lot, because pretty much everybody wants to convert the driver's license, to an Israeli driver's license. And so that is just an important part of the process.
And it came up today, actually, with one of our clients. It has to be 5 years up until your Alyah date. So today we had someone that went into the local, what's called Misad Rishu, which is a DMV, and they had a history. New Jersey gave them what's called a driving history. It was up until 2024. And so they're going to try and get it approved, pushed through, but the law is asking that you show that you've been driving for at least 5 years up until your Alyah date. So as Rafi said, it's important to do that. And once you do that, the converting of the driver's license is a very simple process, but that does need to be either the driver's license or a certified original document from the DMV. That's what they request here.
And the last tip is just to photocopy all of your documents. And it's we can't stress it enough. The officers sometimes will want a copy, and they can photocopy your documents in the office, but it just adds so much more time. So yeah, I think one of the keys to us being so helpful with, or being able to help people, is just making sure that everybody has the right documents, has copies. If you need originals, you have your originals, and it just really cuts down so much time. And all the clerks appreciate it, where you have the documents ready, and it just expedites the process. So just when you're preparing to come here, it's probably good just to have a folder or binder, just where you have copies of everything. So you can give them when you need to.
Right, and again, this is for the Misad Apnim, the Minister of Interior, and the documents we're talking about are your birth certificates for the whole family with the apostilles, so to have it in original and a copy of all those documents, and then marriage certificates, letter from the rabbi, and then also a picture from the passport, both the main picture and then also the Alyah visa. So if you have all of that with you, the photocopies, it can make the appointment half the time, because if not, the clerks have to take off the staples of the apostilles, and sometimes there's 2 apostilles, and then for each document, and if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, it takes a very long time. So that really makes them happy, and it'll make you happy, because you'll walk out of there a lot faster.
Right. Okay, let's jump back to some of the questions. I see here a question about a friend praying, using a friend's credit card to pay. And yeah, you can use somebody else's credit card to pay for it. It doesn't have to match up with, with the name of the person who's applying. So that is, that definitely is a solution. If you have somebody in Israel, and they don't even have to come with you, they can just give you their credit card and you can use them. That will work as well.
So it's interesting, yes, you can, but I've had, when I've used it sometimes for clients, and then they've paid me back, they've asked to see my Teudat Zehut. So it's only in one specific office, and it's only the manager there, but every time I do that, she asks for my Teudat Zehut. So it's just something to keep in mind. Maybe you need to know the number, or actually have the person's Teudat Zehut with you in case they do ask for that.
Right. Okay. And then there's a question about the fees. So the way that we structure our fee, it's a one-time fee for everything that's involved here, all the different appointments that we talked about, questions that come up, and the fee for that is $1,500. So it's just, and you can pay with a credit card. It just literally saves people hours on end, hours and money, like we talked about. And, people that have, that we've helped, just, they just feel it's really such a good investment, because it saves time, it saves stress, and it really just gives people peace of mind. And so that's how we structure the payment for our service.
Right, and again, the fact that we take them there, it does. It's so much less time, And there's no anxiety involved because someone's there to has your back, and making sure that you know what to do, and making sure you don't have to come a second time, making sure that the right person's seeing you. And so, yeah, time and time again, people, keep saying, wow, how do people do it without Olim Advisors? I just don't understand. So, so be in touch with us, and after Rosh Hashanah, we can set up a time to speak, to answer your questions. You can let other people know about our services, what we hear again and again, we wish you knew about you and making Alyah. So, spread the word, and our clients keep spreading the words, and we'll be happy to speak to you and to help you with your Alyah as soon as you're ready to come. We'll be here waiting.
Absolutely. Just if anyone has any other questions, I see there's a couple of questions here that are a little detailed. So again, I apologize, but we just can't get into all the nitty-gritty details in this on this webinar. But absolutely, you can reach out to us, and we can talk about it at that point, or we can email back and forth. Let's just see if there's any other questions that have come in here. So there's a question here about insurance, and that's a little bit, I'm not sure you're talking about, I guess the question, Laura, is more about the Kupat Cholim insurance. So if you want to talk about that for a moment.
So, Corona.
Well, I guess, they're asking, are they covered, right? And so when you
I think by law, the minute you land,
right.
The minute you land in Israel as Oleh Chadash, then you are covered. An Oleh Chadash. Now, there are different statuses. And it's hard to get an exact answer of when you are covered, but let's assume that you're an Oleh Chadash, you are covered by insurance. That doesn't mean that you are going to get your kupa right away, because as we all know right now, you have to go through a waiting period. And it just depends, because you're going to be at the airport, or even before you arrive in Israel, whether it's Nefesh B'Nefesh or the Jewish agency has already sent in which kupa you want. So if things work well, you should be already in the system within a few days of landing here. So some people have that, and they manage to get out of bidud with a CPR test from the kupa. Some people, it doesn't happen so quickly, and so they can't, and then they have to pay out of pocket for that. And then once you're out of quarantine and you've gone to Misrad Pnim and you have a bank account, then you can actually go into your kupa and sign up for whichever level you want and give your bank account information, because unless you're taking the lowest level of the kupa, you will have a monthly fee. And so you do need to give your bank account information. So again, it needs to be that you first go and get your Teudat Zehut. You have your Teudat Ole, which you got at the airport, and then you'll have your bank information, and you take those things to the kupa and you pick a level, and they should be able to generate the actual card for you then and there. So you will be covered before that point. You should be covered before that point, but the actual card generating that might take a few weeks to get accomplished.
Okay, great. So I think we've covered most of the questions, if not all of them here, that we can cover. So thank you all again for joining us tonight. We want to wish you a Shana Tova Metuka.
Shana Tova.
Most importantly, that it'll be a healthy year for you, and a happy year and a successful year. And please God, if you're planning on making Aliyah, we'll see you in Israel in the upcoming year. And again, we invite you to reach out to us with any questions that you might have, whether it's about bureaucracy or anything else. We love talking to people. We love helping people, and we're here for you. So keep well, keep safe, be well. Take care, and thank you, Laura. Thanks again for joining us tonight.
Shana Tova, everyone, and we'll be here waiting for you to help you through the whole process. Shana Tova Metuka.
Take care.
Lots
Bye-bye.
of good health.
Chag
Bye.
Sameach.
Take care. Chag Sameach.